Welcome, everyone, to Touching Base. I'm your host, Eric Arnold. Today, I'm going to be joined by my friends Andy Enck, Joe Olson, and Andrew Nah. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
They're doing good.
As always, when we try to meet, once a week for a beer, what do we drink tonight, gentlemen?
I'm going with the Voodoo. That's one of my go-tos. New Belgium.
You do that Voodoo.
I got just a summer shandy. I'm ready for summertime, so let's do it to it.
Still on my land shark suitcase, I have a few more of these where this one came from. So I'm gonna be seeing that for a couple weeks, but that's all right.
You've got the next 23 weeks covered.
At least, yeah.
Fair enough. Now I am going really high end. I hopped on a scale for the first time the other day, and so we are going with the old Michelob Ultra. And now it says it is a superior light beer. I tend to disagree, but if it's made out of Lake Superior. But either way, it's hard to beat the 2.6 carbs, which, I'm tracking diligently.
If it's any consolation, I probably need 2 scales.
That does help some, I will say that. We don't need to get into it, but I know it was a real pain. After I had spent all this time losing a bunch of weight, and then I put more back on. So that was really awesome of me. So we're going to try to do that, around this time of year. But that's not why we're here. Let's talk about kind of the big things in sports. I know there's a lot of things going on. The big news was Cap stuff. Cap's just made a trade. Andy, or Andrew, what's going on with that?
Yeah, Cap's made a couple of trades. We'll get the kind of spare change out of the way. Cap's acquired Michael Raffle from Philadelphia for a 5th-round pick in this year's
Who is that?
entry-level draft. Bottom 6, probably bottom 3 kind of guy. Your 13th or 14th forward, maybe a veteran guy with some size that you'll take into the playoffs, into the postseason, that if you need to eat some minutes or you have an injury or something, some nice insurance. But the headliner, and that was one of the bigger headliners in the yesterday's NHL trade deadline, was the Caps shipping Jacob Vrana, Richard Panik, a 2021 first-round draft pick, and a 2022 second-round draft pick to the Detroit Red Wings for winger Anthony Mantha. Mantha is this interesting trade. A lot of folks are looking at all the value that the Caps gave up. Vrana, a pretty promising young player, some high draft capital, and Richard Panik, who's no slouch, but is definitely a middle to bottom 6 forward. But they get in return Mantha, who's a sizable character at 6'5" and about 234. He's a long human being. He's not small. It's essentially a Tom Wilson without the reputation, and maybe not quite as good of a skater. I haven't seen a ton of him yet, but he's one of Detroit's better offensive players, and that's probably saying he's the only guy with legs in an ass-kicking contest because Detroit's in a bit of a rebuild situation, but he's still a skilled player. He skates well, moves well for a size, obviously an enormous physical presence, scores pretty well.
Is that a trend the Caps are doing with the size? I mean, I know they got Chara and, veteran, but he's a large human being. I know you mentioned the first guy was a large guy. This guy's a large guy. They already have Wilson, who's a large guy. Ovi, plays large. Is that something that's intentional?
Yeah, I'll toss this to Joe. I think so. I think you win in the playoffs with heavy play, right? That's what they call in the league. You play heavy. But I think what the Caps do well is they balance that size with speed, right? You talked about, with the exception of Chara. Chara's not quite as fleet of foot, but his size kind of makes up for that. The fact that he's got about a 48-foot wingspan makes up for that. But guys like Ovechkin, Wilson, Brendan Dillon in the back end, big boys, but they can move pretty well relative to their size. But Joe, I mean, you've been in hockey a lot longer than me. Talk about the size factor anymore.
Yeah, I mean, interesting move, especially with Jacob Vrana moving. I mean, I was kind of surprised just because more than anything, the Caps are kind of sitting pretty at the top of the division right now. I mean, what is their end goal with this move? I mean, they're obviously in a spot where they are going to contend, certainly into the playoffs, and I would think they would be one of the favorites to reach the Stanley Cup Finals or at least contend for it. And so, when you talk about, playing heavy and everything like that, that has to be what this move is all about. I mean, they are against some physical teams in their own division, and they're about to cross over and play the Tampas and the Carolinas and the other teams they haven't been playing nonstop all year long. And so when you get into that physical playoff play, I think that they know that they have the scorers and the weapons, and that they must be going for, they know they're going to need some bruisers to get through the physical play, especially when they play these teams they haven't seen all season once they get into the playoffs.
Now, here's my question. As far as the draft picks go, of the like the major sports, hockey is probably my least knowledgeable. How much value is there in those draft picks that they're getting? Is it something that it's going to pay off in the end, or is it kind of a crapshoot?
So that's a really good question for this year specifically. So to your point, NHL draft picks don't have the immediate value. Generally, don't have the immediate value that we see, say, in the NFL or even in the NBA. Compare them more to MLB, where you're drafting a guy after his 18-year season or 19-year-old season, and then you're stashing him either in a junior league, you're stashing him internationally, or you're maybe even in the professionally in the American Hockey League, in the the NHL's minor league system. So you don't have that immediate return. Furthermore, because of the situation with COVID-19 restrictions, a lot of these smaller leagues, right, like Canadian Juniors is made up of at least 3 major like junior leagues, but probably even a couple, 4 or 5 subsidiaries. There's a lower level minor league team here, or minor league here in the U.S. Some of the international junior leagues, they haven't played a lot this year, if at all. So there's going to be a lot of uncertainty in the scouting for this year specifically. So you're going to have a lot more variability variability in.
Nailed it. Nice job.
Yeah, thank you. I'm never sure if words are words. In the kind of the scouting, right? So a first round pick that you think is a first round pick may actually be more, correlative to a 3rd or 4th round pick, just because you didn't have enough information to go on. And the opposite is true too. You might find a guy in the 3rd or 4th that ordinarily would be a first round talent. You just didn't get a lot of looks at him. So
that's not a bad move.
Those are assets. Those assets have value. The value isn't as stable as it has been in previous years, or isn't as stable as it would be in a non-COVID year.
That's good.
If that answers your question.
I know the initial reaction when people were ticked, as Caps fans.
Yeah. So as Joe pointed out, Vrana's a very skilled player. He's a young player. He's still under relatively, low cap number, but a couple things to that point is, one, he kind of fell out of favor with the coaching staff a little bit. He's not as much of what they call a two-way player, right? He's a great offensive skill guy, doesn't play a ton of defense, or doesn't play defense very well. Mantha, somebody that size, Anthony Mantha is going to bring more two-way ability. And the problem is when you're not really a two-way player, and a guy like a Connor Sherry or a guy like Daniel Sprong is going to come in, guys that are better on the third line, and they're going to outscore you and play better two-way hockey, you're going to end up finding yourself kind of out of favor with the coaching staff. So it's just a little bit of balance. You had Vrana, like this skilled guy who's playing on your third line, getting sub 10 minutes a game, and you got guys like role players like a Connor Sherry, like a Daniel Sprong, occasionally even like a Richard Panik, that are playing over top of him and scoring better and providing, driving offense better and supporting on defensively. It's just a mismatch. So it's kind of like one of those the NFL kind of idea of, it's a new start for everybody, and it's kind of probably for everybody's benefit. So Vrana's going to do well out in Detroit. He's going to be he's like their number one guy, essentially. He's going to do well with top line ice time with a guy like Dylan Larkin. He's going to do well out there, but I think Mantha's going to do really well playing as a second or third line guy in Washington.
He's starting off early. He's doing well early, at least. I mean, as of
goal and assist last I checked. That's not a bad debut.
No, that'll work. The Caps fans should definitely take that. The other thing was, now I know here, I think there's one major golf fan. The Andes. Did you guys watch any second of the Masters at all? Absolutely zero. All right, Joe. I know there's some big news and some people were, talking about the match. Can you tell us kind of what happened?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, it was just a really great thing to see the Masters happening in April, kind of on schedule again. It kind of seemed like it just happened because the last iteration when DJ won back in November was literally just 6 months ago. And so to see it back in the springtime when it's traditionally held, mostly decent weather there in Augusta, was really nice to see. And also it was nice to see, however you feel about it, that there was a very, very large amount of fans at a lot of those days too. So to see that happening was really kind of good for my soul. just overall as a sports fan, to see that kind of as a sense of normalcy, if you will. But I mean, obviously with Matsuyama, Hideki Matsuyama, Japanese player, taking home the Masters, the green jacket, first Japanese born player to win a major golf tournament. That's obviously big news.
First male. There are 2 other females who have done it.
First male, excuse me, first male to win a major championship. That's obviously very big news. The Japanese people are on kind of on edge on whether the already once delayed Olympics is going to happen as scheduled and everything. And so to get a big win in sports like this is, I'm sure, big for them and everything. And honestly, Hideki Matsuyama has been knocking on the door several times before, a handful of top 10s and majors before, and he's just kind of quiet. He doesn't speak English, and so he doesn't get a lot of camera time in the US or anything like that. And so kind of a dramaless Masters overall. Justin Rose popped out with a 7-under first round and then just kind of faded throughout the week. The only real drama was up until the end. Xander Schauffele was kind of closing in on Matsuyama, and then he dunked one in the water on 16 on Sunday afternoon.
Very relatable.
Right. That when I said that it felt normal, when I saw him dunk one in the water, that really felt normal when I saw that. And I saw him give that sigh, like, oh gosh, a few cuss words under his breath. Yeah, that was very normal. But for golf fans overall, I mean, golf has kind of been one of those sports that of all the sports out there, whether you're a fan or not, it's probably been the closest thing to normal throughout the pandemic of any of the sports that are on TV regularly. And to see an event like the Masters, which is really the highlight of golf in general, be when it's supposed to be, with fans, with decent weather, and then seeing a first of its kind event like Hideki Matsuyama taking home the green jacket, that was just really, really good for the soul. And I think that it kind of
good for the economy. I saw like they think that that's going to equate to like billions of dollars, like in the Asian market.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like
Tiger Woods,
they've never seen. I mean, right? I mean, the obvious relation for us is Tiger Woods, but I mean, Asian children have never seen a male golfer win a professional major before, and now they've seen that on the biggest stage, and especially one that's been fairly anticipated, going back to normal and everything like that. And so I think that it's going to be I think it's just good for golf overall, and for if it helps more kids around the world get into the game of golf, I think that's just good for everybody. So great week overall at Augusta, and glad to see it happening in April again.
Where does the Masters?
A good side story was, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the caddy for Matsuyama did kind of like this bow on the 18th hole and kind of bowed to the course, and that really caught a lot of attention, I think, not just with the people back home, but people in the United States really noticed that as well.
Yeah, and that was really cool. I remember a few years back, Adam Scott won. He was the first Australian to win the Masters, and just seeing these international players win these things for the first time is always cool when you can see their piece of culture introduced into the sport, and it's just good for the game of golf overall. One point that I know a lot of people saw, though, was that although not contending this week, Rory McIlroy actually hit his father in the early rounds. If you didn't see that, his dad was walking
with a golf ball or with a fist.
Well, I don't know about, I can't confirm or deny the fist, but he definitely hit him with a golf ball. He failed to draw his ball around a hole in the early rounds, and he actually surprisingly struck his dad in the back with like a 5-iron too, and so it wasn't like a chip. And so that was something that went viral early in the week, and so also a very thing that made me feel normal, like, okay, that happens to him also, and so maybe I'll keep at it.
Andrew Nahl one time almost hit me with a golf ball in my face, approximately 10 yards away in the golf cart.
Hey, it's not my fault you were sitting behind my swing. I have to amend my earlier statement also. I watched more than 0 seconds of the Masters because I saw the 4-second clip that you're talking about.
Just captivated, Now, Joe, where does the Masters rank for you? Just like as a golf fan, I know like it's not everyone's game, but like where would you put like major sporting events? I know we talked about that a couple of weeks, like Super Bowl, World Series, playoff hockey, Masters. Like, where does the Masters rank for you?
For me, it's certainly somewhere in the top 5. Depending on how the tournament goes. It's always just incredible how green they make that course. I mean, when you turn on the TV, it's like holy God, like, is this literally a green carpet? I don't know what kind of magicians. I'm sure it's all natural and no chemicals they have to keep the grass like that. But I mean, just incredibly beautiful. And if nothing else, it's kind of like the start of golf season too. And also it's always around beginning of baseball, NFL draft, all these things that are coming up too. And it's kind of the beginning of, into school and all these things that are leading into summer. So it's always a nice time of year. Weather's getting nice and all that good stuff. So it's always well timed and also a great golf event.
Andy Enck, out of curiosity, where does it rank for you?
I think just as a sports fan, having the biggest event being at the beginning of the season, that throws me off. But I do enjoy seeing that big, huge tournament at the beginning of the season. But I feel like all 4 majors kind of sit with me as far as golf fan watching on TV version. Between the Masters and the PGA Championship, those two both really, sit well with me. But the fact the Masters is in the same place every time and the PGA Championship moves usually, but it's just nice to see golf.
No.
Yeah, and I mean, really, if you the time when I started watching golf was when Tiger won the Masters in '97. I'm sure that was when a lot of us did, and so that's kind of why that tournament in particular will be the one that probably always sticks at the top of the list. And like Andy said, it's always at Augusta. It's always beautiful, nice time of year and everything like that. And those childhood memories of watching Tiger dominate the field is always going to stick with me. So. Yeah,
Andrew, where does the Masters rank for you?
I'm not sure it could possibly impact me less.
Now, what is your antithesis against golf?
So, okay, put a few corollaries out there. Number one, golf is unequivocally a sport. That's confirmed. It is indeed a sport in Oregon.
Okay, you're not denying the fact that it is actually a sport.
Not even a little bit.
Okay.
Golfers are unequivocally 100% athletes. They perform feats of athleticism.
I am shocked and amazed you said both those statements, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
In my wildest dreams, I can only dream of making athletic movements akin to what they're able to do. The thing to me that I don't understand is it's not so much about golf, because I like playing with golf. I like playing golf. Eric, you and I played a few times.
We were drinking beer and we were there for the social end. We weren't.
Sure. And plenty of people do that. My issue is the thing that I don't understand. It's not even an issue, because at the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't impact me. The thing that I don't understand is the middle-aged white male's infatuation with watching golf. Not playing golf. Watching golf
4 days.
Now this is like, look, to each their own, right? Like different strokes for different folks. No pun intended.
No pun intended. Yep.
Yeah. A good friend of mine, I remember going down to his house. I guess maybe it was around this time, and he's watching practice rounds. We're not talking about the game. We're talking about practice.
Not a game.
And it's just like,
do you watch the NFL Combine?
Parts of
He does. He does.
Not as much as I once used to, but and I'm trying, and I understand that there's similarities, and I was going to get there too, right? Because Joe was given a little bit about Hideki Matsui, and
former Bronx Bomber.
Yeah, sorry, sorry. And just like some of the background and things like that, and like I think back to this friend of mine that I was saying was watching the practice round. He was like, "Well, this guy's, he swings with his left club, and his caddy's name is, Lefty, and Nixon, all these facts." And like, sure, I know a lot about hockey players, and I know a lot about football players, but it's just like there's some kind of infatuation by, again, middle-aged white men who most likely also like Bruce Springsteen. It's just like I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's just not for me.
Now, originally, I would say, I never understood hitting a ball as far as I could and then having to go get it. Like, that used to bother me.
Isn't that why you get a dog or a kid?
At baseball, someone else goes gets it. Any other sport, someone else goes gets it. This one, I have to hit it and then go get it myself. I didn't understand that.
So I need to attempt to explain the infatuation to Andrew just in 2 quick seconds, okay? Sure. First thing is that middle-aged white men have probably spent their last at least 25 years sitting behind a desk. So if they get to be outside with other guys in playing golf in the nice weather instead of working behind a computer, that's probably step one. And then the idea that the way that we normally play is that we drink beer and hang out with our buddies and stuff like that. And Eric says that hitting the ball as far as you can, for all of us, that's not very far. So normally that's just, a few steps down and we get to go hit it again. So all of those things are good experiences. So it's a reminder that there is more out there than what we do day to day. That's how we think of it.
Sure, and I get that, and I'll highlight that. To me, both of those things talk about playing golf, and I'm here for that. I'll go out and play with you guys tomorrow. I have golf clubs in this here closet, right? Like I'm happy to play golf. It's the watching it, and then again, this has come up before, but like I live too much of my life on Twitter for work and for sports also. But football dudes, just dudes being in this case, a football journalist, live tweeting the like fourth hole on a Friday afternoon. It's like, bro, like call me on Sunday at like 6:00, maybe.
It's like if you were watching NASCAR, you really only care about the final 10 laps.
Yeah, it's something like that. When I still lived down your way, I had all the guy roommates, and one of our roommates, a couple of roommates were big in on it. They get pumped Sunday afternoon about like 5:30 or so. I might mosey on down to the room they're in just to see if it's exciting.
You weren't doing like the Thursday, the Friday movie day.
Those dudes were taking days off to watch it on Thursday. Like I don't know. I can't. And you brought up about the combine. That's fair. I can only take about a few minutes of the combine too anymore because it's whatever. But
it is it's a different sit down event, and I know like it's not easy to get excited, for something to build the enthusiasm, because it's not like other sports. But I actually will say, and Joe, I'm going to give you credit to this. You and I were roommates, twice, and I didn't care at all, to watch it. But you sat down on that couch pretty much every Sunday, and at least turned it on. Right, and zoned in on it. And finally I sat down with you to watch like a full day of it, and I caught myself getting into it. What's the BG3 whatever was he a Navy guy or something like that?
One of my old buddies,
yeah, your boy ended up actually like winning the whole thing, and like I caught myself like following him and following the leaders. It actually, I will say I caught myself getting into it. That being said, I've not done it again since,
Well, now the callback now is different strokes for different folks reference. I feel like Thursday, Friday, Saturday golf for him is like hockey before the middle of May for me. So it just depends on who you are and what you watch. I won't watch practice rounds of golf. I might catch Thursday, Friday, Saturday golf. But if I know what's interesting, I will watch Sunday golf, just like I'll watch May and June hockey more than anybody else.
Playoff hockey. All right.
Last thing I want to say on that is that we all wish that we were golfing compared to almost anything else that we do on a day-to-day basis. And we all wish that we played like the guys that we watched. So that's why we watch it.
I don't even care about playing that well. It's like, a bad day fishing is better than a good day anywhere else. It's the same thing, right? Bad day golfing is better than anything else.
I know the highlight of my week is talking to you guys. And we've got roughly 10 minutes left. So I want to get to baseball real quick. Andy, can you give me the start of the baseball season happened? The Nats aren't exactly lighting it on fire. Like I think they're 2-8 or 2-9 or something like that to start the season. But what's kind of been the big story of starting baseball?
Well, there's a couple of big stories here. One big story is that COVID has already affected the league already, where the Nats themselves have missed the first 3 or 4 games, and then they also other teams, Mets have missed a couple games, but. A couple of big stories were the San Diego Padres had their first no-hitter in the franchise's history, and also they're the last franchise to throw a no-hitter. So that's kind of a huge thing. And the pitcher that threw it he grew up as a Padres fan. So that's kind of a cool thing. We talked about a pre-show with I always mispronounce his name, but Shohei Ohtani, the outfielder / pitcher. I think he is really going to come out this year because he had the fastest pitch in the last 2 years or last year and a half, and then the fastest exit velocity in the last year and a half in the same inning.
Absolutely bomb.
Yeah, it was a bomb. I read that he was the first dedicated pitcher batting higher than fifth in the lineup to hit a home run since 1904 or whatever, like some crazy stat like that.
Is he your leading MVP candidate through the first 10 games?
In the AL, I definitely think he is. If he's not up there, he might be second on his team once Mike Trout starts hitting the ball again.
Right.
Hard to really that. And I think that's another thing too, is Mike Trout is probably, historically MLB can have some players that stay with one team and never win the MVP, or they fight for the MVP, or they never win the World Series, but they have this Hall of Fame career, but they're stuck on a like sub 500 team. And it's just the way it is. They just stick with the team and they play with it. And Mike Trout is definitely
He amazes me.
Historically probably the most undervalued player because he's stuck on a team that just will not be able to do anything with him.
Well, that lineup is loaded. They got Rendon, him, Pajolis, and the guy we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Ashani?
Oh yeah. And well, being a Detroit Tigers fan, there's a random rookie coming out, Akil Badu, coming out of nowhere, hitting a couple home runs and a grand slam, a walk, grand slam, a triple, and a couple stolen bases all in his first week. And then that's usually somebody's rookie year, let alone their first week of the rookie year.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Now, before we let you guys go, there is one more question I have, because it's happening this weekend. And I know you guys are all huge fans of it. There is essentially a celebrity fight taking place between Jake Paul, the YouTuber, versus Ben Askren, former UFC fighter, former Fight One champion, former Bellator champion, more known for his wrestling, not really known for his striking. But this thing is starting to become over huge. They're projecting 1 million pay-per-view buys, which would rank, on the all-time type of list. Before I say my piece on it, what do you guys, one, have any intention of watching at all, including highlights afterwards? Two, are you interested in this at all?
I'll be watching golf that day.
Holy what?
You know how interested I am.
But I think most of the money is probably on a meteor hitting the venue before anybody bet on either one of the fighters to win.
Yeah, people are rooting for an earthquake. Yeah.
I'm just going to assume that fight starts after 11 p.m. too, like all these other fights. Right?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock start time.
Oh.
Now the opening fight is with a guy who is a professional boxer who is 8-0, and he is fighting against a 0-0 musician. So get your money out. I don't know anything else about it. Like, I have no idea, and it makes me feel old. But I, honest to God, have no idea who the fighter is. I have no idea who the singer is. But I know when I was looking up like the records, one is undefeated, one is also undefeated, but he's also winless. And so it's just two undefeated fight. And one, his sport is listed as music, so that should be a good opening fight. There's Frank Mir, who's a former UFC fighter. I think he's going against a former pro boxer. Frank Mir is like 2-8 in his last MMA fights, and he's probably like our dad's age. So I don't know, but the big one is really going to be, it's the question. People want to know, is an amateur boxer who's put the time, money, and effort, and quite frankly, like you said, Andy, people just want to see him get knocked out because they just don't like the guy as much. And then they're paying $50 just to hope that they get to see him get knocked out live, which is a credit.
I feel like if Twitter ran a boxing ring, this is what it would be like. They would hope for somebody to get hurt bad. That's what they're aiming for. Either one of them. I want Jake Paul to get knocked the bleep out because I'm done with him. But I think there's plenty of people on the other side of that want him to see knock him out too. So it's
the only thing I like Ben Askren. I like his shtick. I find him to be incredibly amusing. I think he's been easily the more polarizing figure throughout this entire process. He's been the most upfront and honest. I also think he's more for our demographic, quite frankly. He's more relatable, to us. But I also love shtick, and I love a good hype. So if he were able to knock him out, I could only imagine what the next fight would be, and my level of intrigue would just continue to grow every single time he goes out there.
I just hope this fight represents Rocky V when Tommy Morrison was in there fighting against Rocky and getting his ass kicked, and the promoter just stands over laughing.
Yeah. That might be the case. I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot closer fight realistically than what people are saying. I don't think it's going to be a one side of the fair on either side. I think just the prediction is going to be that Paul's going to be typically the better striker. Ben's going to be the better athlete, and we're just going to find out how big of a difference it makes.
Like him or not, Logan Paul is a big enough guy to be a decent boxer, and it seems like he put in the work to try and improve that as well. So, douchebag or not, it sounds like he can fight a little.
Yeah, right, and that's it. And we're going to find out. I will send you guys all the highlight links. If you guys want to come over to my watch party, I'll set up at my house. You guys could all chip in to be a part of it because I know you're looking forward to it. Guys, I know it's been 2 weeks since we saw each other last. Honestly, great catching up with you guys. I missed you guys. Let's do it again next week.
Sounds good, man.
All right, guys. Here's to you and the rest of my Michelob Ultra. Cheers, gentlemen.